For me, I mean, from what I see, hip-hop on the West Coast started like 1982, 83, something like that. And I guess so-called gangster rap started at the same time because those were the first records that really made it out here, you know. I mean, Ice-T had a big influence on a lot of people out here because he actually started it to me. Ice-T and Schoolie D, actually. Schoolie D had the record PSK out at the time, and Ice-T had 6 in the morning. And these were the only records we were playing because, you know, they were saying things that we could relate to, you know.
Were you familiar with the hip-hop scene going back to New York, like, during those years? Like, you know, what was happening, like, with Africa Bambaataa and stuff?
Yeah, I was hip to New York hip-hop. I mean, that's where it started, you know what I'm saying? And anybody that doesn't believe that is tripping, straight up. I mean, you got to give props where props is due. They originated it, you know, and it just spread it, and now it's bigger than ever, and it's going to get bigger.
Now, do you see a difference between hip-hop and rap?
A difference between hip-hop and rap. Do I see a difference? No, you know. Some people in hip-hop are cornier than others, you know, but everybody's out there doing their thing and doing it to the best of their ability, I believe, you know. There are some people I think should leave it alone and go get 9 to 5s, you know, but for the most part, it's all the same world. Everybody's trying to do pretty much the same thing. Get in, have some fun making music, and make some money out of it if possible.
What are some of, like, the positive aspects that came out of gangster rap? And do you think that it came from, like, the political rap scene that was also happening a little bit?
Some of the positive things that came out of it, it's to me, the fact that it existed, you know what I'm saying? Because it gave people something else to do. That everybody that's in hip hop, it gives you something else to do, you know? Everybody's not fortunate enough to be a doctor or a lawyer, you know? Everybody doesn't complete 4 years of college, you know? It gives you something else to do, and it is a job, straight up. It's a straight up job. It's not everything that you see in videos, you know? Most people in videos are fronting anyway. You know, it's not about that. It's about what goes on in here, you know? That's what it's all about. Coming in here, having some fun with your art, making some music, and putting it out there hoping that people are gonna buy it. That's the whole fun about it. Because no matter how hard you work in the studio, no matter what you do, you don't know if people are gonna dig it, you know? For me, some of the records that I'm real pumped up on that I do are not the ones that hit, you know? You never know, and you never know when you're gonna fall off.
What do you see as the future of hip-hop?
What do I see as the future of hip-hop? I need to call Dionne Warwick or some shit. That's a good question. I think it's definitely going to get a lot better because a lot of people in hip-hop right now are going to a more positive note, including myself, you know. Right now, it's like, it's really up in the air, you know. Everybody's sitting on edge waiting to see who's going to do the next thing, what's going to be the next shit that everybody's going to follow, you know. I've set a couple of trends myself and everybody follows it. And, you know, other people in hip-hop have done the same thing. Right now, there's waiting for that new person or anybody that's going to come along and say, bam, okay, this is the next shit, you know. So that's what I see as the future of hip-hop, if that answered your question.
No, it does. You know, well, a lot of people say, like, you know, you talk about Dionne Warwick, but a lot of people think you have a crystal ball because you've been able to...
People think I have a crystal ball, huh?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, in terms of, like, knowing what trends were going to be happening, being on the forefront and cutting edge, and in a business that's so disposable, you know, where artists can come and go, what has been the secret to your longevity?
The secret to my longevity, I think, is the fact that I'm a perfectionist, you know, and I listen to everybody's shit, you know. I mean, even R&B. I listen to classical music sometime. I listen to heavy metal. I just listen to everything, you know? And really, I listen to the whack shit more, you know, because I want to know what not to do, you know, the stuff that's not selling, you know? It's easy to pick up a hit record and know what people are buying, you know? I think I'm very blessed, you know? If there was somebody that was struck by luck, by God, I'm one of those people, seriously, you know, because I've had a very blessed life, straight up.
Do you think, like you were talking about also the music for a minute, how does, like there were different elements that were put into hip-hop and rap music in the beginning, then it kind of got away from that a little bit. You know, why do you think some people are limited in terms of their musical input into like what they're listening to?
I think people are limited because they're very well influenced by people that's around them or people that's in the media, you know. You see somebody criticizing something, you're not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think like that. I'm only gonna do what I like, straight up. And a lot of people have tunnel vision. Like you may see people talking about how if they get a lot of money or something like that, they're gonna stay in the ghetto, they're gonna stay in the projects. That means if you're staying there, you're gonna allow your mother and your family to stay there also. And that's bullshit, straight up, you know? The change has to happen somewhere in your generation. You know, for my family, I'm saving money and I want my kids to start on another level. I don't want them to start in the projects. No, that means they have to build for their families. If they start at a higher level, you know, their families are gonna get better. That means your generation down the line, they're gonna have a foundation, you know, and I'm gonna set the foundation, straight up.
Now, just from what you said, you have like a long-term perspective, but you know, to a lot of kids, they just don't have that. What do you think has to change for them to like start thinking like long-term and in the future rather than what they have to deal with on a day-to-day?
What I think has to change for people, as far as longevity, is looking at people that have made it in the business. You know, Quincy Jones, people like that. That's my mentor right there, because he started at a young age the same as I did, and he's still doing his thing and having fun with it. You know, it ain't about who has the flyest car, who has the most jewelry, you know. It ain't about that. It's about saving and preparing yourself for when your shit ain't happening no more, you know, because it's going to happen sooner or later. You know, you never know when, you know. When Dr. Dre falls off, if and when that happens, I'm cool. I'll never have to touch another button as long as I live, straight up. I'm cool, you know. And that's what you have to think. You have to say, okay, I know I'm gonna fuck off some money, so let me put this money over here to fuck off, right? And let me save this. Let me save this. Take care of your taxes, take care of all that shit. You gotta make sure you're prepared when the shit gets thick.
What is it about like a certain region that makes the music so important?
I think everywhere has to have their own sound. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes it different. That's what makes music different. You know, whether it be hip hop or any form of music. You know what I'm saying? Every place has their own sound. We over here on the West Coast, we have our own sound, we have our own thing. If you're digging it on the East Coast, it's all good. If you're not, it's all good, you know? I make my music for the listeners, just the people that want to listen. You know, people in the South have their own thing, you know?
Tell me what it was like the first time you heard your stuff on the radio.
Ooh, the first time I heard my stuff on the radio. That's a feeling you can't even describe. It's like having your firstborn and shit, you know what I'm saying? This shit is crazy. And like I was saying, man, it's like, no matter how many hit records you've made, no matter how many platinum records, no matter how long you've been in the business, it's nothing like hearing your shit on the radio, straight up. I don't care what nobody say. Oh, I get tired of listening to my cut. You can listen to your shit 1,000,000 times and be tired of hearing it in your car, everywhere. When it come on the radio, you turning it up, straight up. It's nothing like hearing your shit on the radio, because you know thousands of people are listening to it also. This shit is dope.
How do you feel about like influencing all those people? I mean, do you ever feel like a responsibility?
No, I don't ever feel a responsibility to impress people with my music. I do feel like I gotta get in and do my music to the best of my ability, you know. And I feel like I'm my worst critic, you know. If I'm not digging it, it ain't the shit, you know. So the critics out there can basically like kiss my ass straight up because they know nothing about what goes into this. They're just people with a 9-to-5 behind a fucking typewriter and a CD player, listening to it and critiquing it. You know, you can't criticize something that somebody's working real hard on because that can like shatter their whole shit, you know. It might be a hit record in them, you know. That's why like shit I be seeing in the Source magazine of them critiquing records and, you know, nobody can critique my shit unless you've done half of the stuff that I've accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can critique the shit, you know? There's nothing saying that I'm gonna make a fucking smash every time I go in the studio. That's what I set out to do, but like I said before, you don't know what the public is gonna dig. So all the critics just need to shut the fuck up until they do or try to do the shit that they're criticizing.
Totally agree with that. What do you think about like some of these magazines that I think they instigate problems? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I have some friends at the Source, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think they get out of control.
Yeah, I think the magazines do instigate a lot of the problems, you know, and they do the shit to sell magazines, but it's like hurting more than helping. You know what I'm saying? Like the Source magazine, they always got shit going on. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to them, but they always got some bullshit flying around. You know, the Vibe magazine is more mature. You know what I'm saying? I like reading the Vibe magazine. You know, sometimes I'm scared to look in the Source. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, who's dissing who's fucking who, and man, come on with that. You know, I wanna read some intelligent shit.
Right. Now, what is your whole take on the East Coast West Coast thing? And do you think that's a media thing too that has you know?
The whole East Coast West Coast thing, it did get souped up with the media. Straight up, the media souped the shit up, and you know, you read some shit that somebody on the East Coast said about the West Coast and vice versa, and you got major problems when it's all bullshit. You know what I'm saying? The smart people know that you just can't diss a whole coast. If you got a problem with somebody, you got a problem with that individual, you know? Square off with him. Don't go dissing a whole fucking coast, you know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, the public is not stupid. They know what time it is. They know what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell some records, straight up. Because if you had beef with a person, you're going to step to that person and say what you got to say. You know what I'm saying? And handle it like a goddamn man, straight up. Instead of getting on a record, spending hours and hours in the studio trying to think of some shit to say about a whole fucking coast. When you can handle it with a simple phone call or simply walking up to the person, getting your shit off your chest.
Yeah, but then you think, I mean, for some people that sells records too.
Yeah. It definitely sells records, and that's what it's all about. When you know it's going to present more of a problem. You know?
But then like back in the day, like battle records were always popular. You know, I mean, my thing is it's okay to let your frustrations out on a record as long as it doesn't lead to the street.
Yeah, battle records, right? You talk about battle records. That was then. You know what I'm saying? People ain't walking around with no shoestrings in their shoes no more either. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's making no fucking battle records no more. I mean, people still dissing people on record, but that is a fucking childish brain, you know? You're stuck in the fucking 80s. It's time to move on to something else. Come anew, you know? Been there, done that. Let's move on.
Yeah, explain that a little bit about that comment. You know, been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Go ahead, finish.
You know, just tell me that perspective and like, you know, I mean, I think that's a great way to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about, you know, and this is coming just from me, you know. I ain't trying to speak for anybody else. As far as the lyrical content on records, you know, let's move on. You know, how many times can you kill people on the record? How many times can you say motherfucker, you know? I mean, it's time to move on and come up with some new shit. Straight up, You know, whether it be me, whether it be the next man, let's move on. You know, because I'm tired of going in the fucking record shops and the rap section being all the way in the back of the fucking store. You go on Tower Records and you ask for the rap section and they immediately point your ass to the back of the fucking store and you got to go through there and the section is about 5 feet wide. And the reason is nobody's putting out no good product, you know? Everybody's doing the same shit, you know? Until we start having some fucking variety and everybody starts getting in, doing different shit instead of trying to follow what the next man is doing, the rap section will continue to be in the fucking back of the store. Rap section, hip-hop section, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you know? It's gonna continue to be in the back of the store until somebody or everybody steps up and starts doing different shit.
Can you talk about some of the elements of the music?
Elements I use in production?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got to keep it kind of basic for people like that never been to.
Right. Well, when I'm producing, I mean, I try to make the song fit the artist. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I like to roll with the people that I'm producing for a while before we start working, and you know, kick it around, just get into their head, and try to make the music fit them. That way, it's more comfortable and it's a hit. Like for instance, I wouldn't like use a track that I'm doing for Snoop Dogg for Rage. You know what I'm saying? Rage is she's just on some different shit. She's one of the tightest female artists, period, to me. Me personally, she's one of the tightest females that ever touched a microphone, straight up. And in my experiences, it has been hard to find a female to work with that I'm really digging, you know? And out here on the West Coast, there's not that many females that get into rap. You know what I'm saying? They're on 9 to 5s. You know, it's hard. I mean, I was trying to do an East Coast West Coast killer joint with with all females on it, and I couldn't think of any females out here that I was digging to put on the record, so it never came about. You know, so females. You know, all the females out there. If you out here, I'm looking for some, straight up. Commercial message.
Talk about the universal element of hip-hop and rap. Like you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the universal element of hip-hop is like I was saying, man, everybody has their own sound. Every section, every sector, every borough has its own sound. You know what I'm saying? The West Coast has their own sound, East Coast has their sound, and everybody can get into it. If you like, sometimes you just don't want to listen to the West Coast shit. You want to listen to East Coast shit, or you want to listen to Outkast or Goody Mob down south, Scarface, you know, everybody from Rap-A-Lot. I was even in Japan, you know. They got a hip-hop section. I mean, they got people that's seriously into hip-hop in Japan, and it kind of fucked me up, you know. I went out there and saw afros, lowriders, and all kind of shit, you know. So it's all about, you know, what you like listening to. But don't down anybody else for trying to do this music, because you never know what it's going to evolve into, you know?
Cool. So you had all these genres that were kind of, you know, stolen or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, black music, or music that, you know, black people created are the most powerful to me, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what were we saying? What was I going to say before we started filming? Shit.
About it being like, you know, uniquely African-American or black?
Yeah, I mean, hip-hop is a way for people that don't know how to play any instruments or anything like that to be able to get in the studio and still make a record. You know, you can sample. It's very easy to make a hip-hop record. It's not easy to make a good hip-hop record, but it's easy to come in and make a hip-hop record, you know. I think that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of problems with it, because it's so easy to do. Anybody can come in the studio and make a record. With film, you know, you just can't say, okay, I want to make a movie and go out there and do it. You can wake up and say, I want to make a record, and there's studios everywhere. You can just go in and you can make a record, seriously. And which means there's going to be more idiots involved, more shiesty people involved, which means you're going to have some problems, you know?
So talk about the music business and some of the people that might get in the way
The record business. It's exactly what it is, record business. And you have to take care of both, or they won't take care of you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, most people get into this, and I was the same way. I got into it just wanting to make music. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really give a damn about the business part of it. I was trusting people, trusting that they would handle my business the way it was supposed to be handled, and you get fucked like that. So, you know, you gotta be on top of your own business. You know, don't trust no managers, no record company execs, nothing like that. Know it, you know. 9 times out of 10, somebody getting into hip-hop music is not concerned with the business because they want to make the music, they want to do the videos and shit, but you have to because later on you'll wish you did, you know. Most artists don't know what they're supposed to get paid or when they're supposed to get paid, you know what I'm saying? And it's fucked up, you know. You gotta know that. You gotta know because you can't make your best music if your business is not taken care of. In this business, 90% of artists don't know when they're supposed to get paid, how they're supposed to get paid, or how much they're supposed to get paid, you know? You can ask a new artist, or even some artist that's been in the business a while, how much is a point worth, or what a point is, and they can't answer the question. They don't know. But they could tell you how much a Mercedes costs.
Yeah. Talk about how the music also talked about like crime and violence and drugs.
Well, the music talks about crime, violence, and drugs because it exists. You know what I'm saying? It's there. I mean, you can't. There's no fiction there. You know. You can't just like make up things like that. I mean, certain episodes that you hear on record are maybe fictional occasions. You know what I'm saying? But that shit that really does happen. You know what I'm saying? Or could happen. You know, so it's just not coming out of nowhere, you know. Hip-hop music is just an extension of what's going on in every ghetto. That's all it is to it. And not just in the ghetto, you know. Rich people have their problems too.
What, why do you think mainstream America has such problems with rap music? And do you think that's a media thing?
Yeah, I think it's a total media thing. The reason why mainstream America has a problem with it is, I think it gives a lot of people something to be mad at, you know? You know, it gives them something to do with their job, I think, you know? They have to have something to talk about, you know what I'm saying? They have to have something, like just say Dolores Tucker, for instance. You know, she's probably was just sitting around going, I need to be on the scene. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, okay, hip hop, I'm gonna fuck with them because they're saying some things that I don't agree with, you know? And she came down on it in the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? She could have gave it a better approach and she would have got respect. Right now, she has zero. She has zero respect from me, and I believe everybody that's involved in hip-hop music. Not just hip-hop, just people in general. My moms don't like her, you know? My moms don't like everything, every record that I've made, you know? And it's real hard for my mother not to like you, but she doesn't like her because of the position she took against young blacks and hip-hop music.
The American Revolution was founded on like the freedom to bear arms, the freedom of speech. You know, even the song "The Star Spangled Banner" is like, you know, the bombs bursting in air, you know, which is kind of a violent song, you know. How do you relate that to rap music? I mean, do you think rap music might be like the second American Revolution in a way?
I don't think rap music is the second revolution of America or nothing like that, man. I just think it's something that young black people like listening to, like creating, and that's all it is to it, straight up. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, for me, it's nothing political to it. I mean, some people involve it in politics and what have you, but for me, it's just fun. I love doing it. I love making music. I love creating. I love listening to it. I love listening to somebody that does something different and creative because it pumps me up into getting in the studio. And it also makes money. It's gonna better my life and my family's life. So it's all good.
Today is Martin Luther King's birthday. What do you think if he was still here, how do you think he would relate to rap music?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. How would Martin Luther King react to hip-hop music right now? Knowing what I know about the man, I think he would be definitely into it. He probably wouldn't agree with a lot of the content, you know what I'm saying? But it's a way for Black Americans to express themselves. It's an alternative, you know what I'm saying? Because you can ask like anybody in hip-hop music. I wouldn't say anybody. You can ask 90% of the people that's involved in hip-hop music what they would be doing if hip-hop didn't exist. And I can guarantee you it won't be positive, straight up. So I think Martin would have been into it, straight up.
Do you see hip hop as can you talk about that a little bit? About like, do you see it as a way to funnel, aggression and anger and frustration?
Yes, because it's definitely a way to get some frustration and anger off your chest. Because you got a problem with somebody, instead of you going to pull a gun, you can just write some lyrics up about them and go in the studio and swing it. You know what I'm saying? You have a problem with your girl or anybody in your family, you can put it down on record. You can say what you got to say on record, and it makes you feel good to get it off your chest. You know what I'm saying? Especially if other people are listening to it. It makes you feel good to be able to talk and have a lot of people listen to you, to say what you want to say and have a lot of people listen to you. It's a certain amount of power that comes along with it that's very, very appealing. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why a lot of people want to get into it. A lot of people want to get into it strictly for the money. That's cool, I'm in it for both reasons. I love the art, and I love the fact that it's paying the bills, straight up.
What, do you think it's easier to sell like a, gangster type record than to sell a record that focuses more on the positive?
I do think it's easier to sell a gangster rap record than it is to sell a positive record, because kids always want to hear something that they're not going to hear at school or at church. You know what I'm saying? And I found that just recently. I put out the record, The Aftermath. When everybody got the wrong idea, they thought it was going to be a Dr. Dre record, and it's just a teaser. When you get sampler tapes with just cuts from the upcoming albums, this is all it is. It's just a teaser. None of the artists put their best records on there. You know what I'm saying? They save them for their albums. And it's just a teaser of what's to come, sticking it out there. And it's even blowing up. So, we're going to have some heat coming. Seriously. Did I answer the question? Or did I just start talking about some bullshit?
About like whether it's more easier to sell a hardcore.
Yes, and people start beefing like, yo, what's up with the hardcore shit, And it's not selling as fast as my records usually sell, Because it's a total positive record, It's funny. I'm just still gonna keep doing what I'm doing, what I believe in. But that's a funny thing.
Any other messages that you would give to the hip hop community, rap community?
Yeah, some messages. Just touching on what I've already said. Just know your business. Start over. Just know your business. And know what you're getting into before you get into it, straight up, because This is a fucking dog-eat-dog world, straight up. The record business.